Straight to a Fox News alert, the FBI is ordering a $50,000 reward for information on a masked protester who appeared to fire a gun at federal agents during a major California immigration raid yesterday.
Doug Luzader joins us now with the very latest. Good morning, Doug.
Hey, good morning, guys. Another rough day for federal immigration agents in California after facing off with violent protesters yesterday. Dozens of people were taken into custody during immigration sweeps at two farming sites, including a marijuana facility. Tear gas, smoke bombs deployed. Agents were pelted with rocks, and federal authorities are now on the lookout for a suspect who appeared to fire a gun at them. And now this from the U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, who posted on X. The FBI has issued a $50,000 award for information leading to the conviction of an unknown subject who appeared to fire a pistol at federal law enforcement officers near Camarillo. And here is another shocking detail. According to Customs and Border Protection, 8 unaccompanied minors, all here illegally, were found. There is now an investigation underway for possible child labor violations, they say. All of this as we await a decision from a federal judge in California who seems inclined now to severely limit immigration enforcement efforts by the Trump administration. This Biden appointee indicating that she may issue a temporary restraining order today, essentially siding with litigants who argue that ICE agents are violating constitutional rights. So far, she says she has only reached a tentative decision, writing, "It is truly a tentative. It is not final. My intention coming into this hearing, given the urgency and the weight of the matters at issue, is to issue my ruling tomorrow." But she has also said that she does not want to burden what she calls lawful law enforcement activities. And again, that decision should come down later today. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, this is also strange, and maybe the strangest part of that ruling right there is the idea that when did federal judges begin giving alerts to how they're going to rule tomorrow, which at some point it starts to make you think that it's all kind of a coordinated effort to give people time to the ACLU to have a press conference, for example.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You know, if this judge does go forward and issues this temporary restraining order, this is the equivalent of a judge making a ruling that the DEA can't go search individuals for drugs and narcotics on Skid Row in L.A. It makes no sense. They're carrying out federal immigration law. And one of the groups in this lawsuit, CHIRLA, the Coalition for Immigration Rights L.A., is been tied to the Alvarado, Texas attack that, where the 10 individuals, and we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. But, connect these dots, and you see what is literally a federal judge now stepping in to say that the federal government can't carry out its duty for federal immigration law.
Well, because the judges are the new face of the resistance for the liberal left. And when they started doing it, Charlie, was when President Trump won office. They did it during his first term with all these nationwide injunctions that were issued. Now they're doing it again during his second term. But we need to be honest about what Democrats are doing. Their desire is to protect criminals. Yeah. You look at the deportations of these illegal aliens that have taken place under President Trump. 70% have been criminals or individuals pending charges. These aren't moms and kids that the Trump administration are trying to deport. They're illegal aliens. They're gang members. They're terrorists as well. And you talked about the Alvarado attack, the ambush against the ICE agents there. They were outfitted in black military-style clothing, 12 sets of body armor, 14 guns, fireworks, spray paint, two-way radios, and anti-government propaganda. What do you think that sounds like they're preparing for?
Well, look at the video just from last night, from yesterday in Camarillo, Texas. It's unbelievable. The one news agency caught on camera what appeared to be, and you can see the protesters pelting federal immigration vehicles with rocks. That is assaulting. That is textbook assaulting federal immigration, trying to deal with illegal aliens, 10 of which are minors. Now we're talking about child labor violations at this pot farm out in Camarillo. Look at them just pounding that. And then the one news organization capturing video of what appeared to be an individual firing a pistol at ICE, at federal law enforcement, and that, those are fireworks, by the way. This has gotten out of hand. This is a point that when you see this sort of response, and again, remember, this is a warrant that was being carried out. The federal immigration authorities got word that there were these two farms, one of them a marijuana farm, that was employing illegal aliens. They went in to carry out federal law enforcement and round people up. In it, they found out that there were these 10 unaccompanied, 10 underage minors, 8 of which were unaccompanied minors.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting, and then to have a federal judge then say that, no, you're rounding people up because they're brown or because of the color of their skin or because of the way, because of the language they speak. No, the whole point of a warrant is that you're not doing those things, that you're doing it with actual cause for. And of course, we've been talking about this all week with all of this crazy stuff going on, that at some point, somebody's going to get hurt. And then you have video of a protester firing a gun.
Exactly.
Well, and that's what the borders are. You know, Tom Homan has been saying. He's saying, look, this is going to end with someone dying. This is going to end with ICE agents dying. And then what are Democrats doing? You only have Senator Fetterman who is saying, look, this is wrong. We should be calling this out. We should be saying that this is disgusting. No other Democrats are doing that. But what are they doing? What are senators like Cory Booker doing? They're trying to remove the masks of ICE agents, which further puts their lives at danger at a time when assaults are up by 700% on ICE agents, Griff?
Yeah, and Charlie, I think you really hit the nail on the head, and that is, imagine the week. Let me show you. The week we have had in just the first 10 days of July, an unprecedented number of attacks on ICE and federal law enforcement. Let's start on July 1st. In Buffalo, an individual named Matthew White posts on X, "Kill them all. The ICE is the new Gestapo. Stop them." He is facing federal charges for threatening ICE agents. Let's go to 4th of July, the Alvarado assault that we were talking about. Lisa was pointing out they had AR-style rifles, they had body armor, they had two-way radios, they had Faraday bags that was trying to conceal cell phone, coordinated, planned, premeditated attack, and of the 10 individuals now facing first-degree attempted murder of federal immigration officers, there is an 11th individual, Benjamin Song, on the run, allegedly provided those weapons to the 10 protesters. Then let's go down to McAllen, Texas. An absolute barrage of bullets from an assailant on a Border Patrol annex facility in McAllen, Texas, that housed the Special Operations Division of Border Patrol. That individual deceased, but it's causing all BP facilities in Texas to get heightened security. Let's go to Tuesday, July 8th, the next day. That's when, as you're mentioning, Lisa, the Democrats, led by Cory Booker and Senator Padilla, wanting to unmask agents, while the agents, ICE, federal law enforcement, has said that they are wearing identification of ICE and HSI on them, but they're covering their faces because there are individuals trying to publicly dox these agents, putting them, their families, their spouses, their children at heightened risk. Same day, you've got 4 arrested out in Van Nuys, California, for placing allegedly tire spikes in the road, puncturing the holes of ICE vehicles, trying to stop that raid. By the way, that raid, a legal raid being carried out by warrant. And the same day, you've got up in San Francisco, agitators confronting ICE outside of immigration court. We have seen that in sanctuary cities like San Francisco, where the authorities will not turn over criminal, illegal aliens that have deportation orders, they just turn them loose on the streets. ICE trying to pick them up, but they're getting resistance and being assaulted there. And then finally, as we've been talking out in Camarillo, California, the unbelievable, there's a $50,000 reward. The U.S. attorney out there, Bill Isole, saying that they want to capture that individual that appeared to fire a weapon, fire a pistol at ICE agents who were carrying out a lawful warrant. This is the first 10 days of July. If we stay on this trajectory, Lisa, that's why Tom Homan is saying that he is, and we're going to talk to him in just a little bit. You know, yesterday on this couch, we asked Secretary Kristi Noem, DHS Secretary, I said, are you worried that you're going to attend the funeral of one of your agents? And she said she thinks about it every day.
I mean, it's just disgusting. And again, you're going to want to tune in for Tom Homan at 6:30 a.m. here.
A Fox News alert. Chaos in California. Federal agents deploying tear gas while protesters hurl rocks during an ICE raid at a marijuana farm allegedly staffed by illegal immigrants. The scene escalating when a protester seen here appears to fire a gun at the feds. The FBI now offering a $50,000 reward for info on the suspect. All of this comes as we await a ruling by a Biden-appointed federal judge who's expected to curb all federal immigration operations in Southern California. Border czar Tom Homan joining us now. Tom, I watched that video out of Camarillo, California yesterday and was just mortified. What happened there and what is your reaction?
My reaction is the same as been from day one. That, people are welcome to protest. They have their First Amendment rights, but they can't cross that line. They can't impede us from doing our job. That's a felony. They certainly can't put hands on an agent. That's a felony. So what happened in California is just another example of protesters becoming criminals. And they've been emboldened by even members of Congress who compare ICE to Nazis and racists and terrorists. I mean, the rhetoric is so high, and I said 2 months ago, it's going to end up with a loss of life. And we had one the other day in Texas. And it's not over. I mean, the rhetoric has to end. ICE agents are simply enforcing the law that members of Congress enacted, that they wrote, they created, and was signed by the president. If people want to complain about the job ICE is doing, go complain to Congress, because we're enforcing the laws they enacted. We're doing our job.
Hey, Tom, can I just take you back? You just said you had a loss of life in Texas?
Yeah, you had a person attack a Border Patrol facility, firing at the facility, and Border Patrol agents.
Right. The individual that assaulted him lost life. Okay, I was just clarifying, making sure you weren't making news there that an agent had lost his life, and that is, of course, the fear. But you talk about those politicians and the rhetoric that clearly seems to be fueling much of this, but you've also got some distortion of the facts. This was a post that California Governor Gavin Newsom put up yesterday. Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum. We later find out there were 10 juveniles in that operation, that were 8 of which were unaccompanied minors. What do you say?
I see this every day, and I said from day one, when President Trump became president, that they're going to vilify the men and women of ICE. They'll vilify the men and women of Border Patrol. They did it during the last administration, except this time, the rhetoric's at an all-time high. Every day I get up and I read the media posts at the White House, and 90% of the stories are just fake. They're lies. So, and people say, well, the polls are kind of turning against Donald Trump a little bit on immigration. First of all, I don't believe it. And if the polls turn it off, because all the fake news out there, they're lying about what the President Trump is doing. They're lying about what the men and women of ICE are doing. And that kind of turns, the tide against us a little bit. But that's why, members of the administration are out there every day setting the facts straight. The fact is, I read in the paper the other day, the majority of people who arrest are not criminals. Wrong. Look at the data. Go to ICE.gov and look at the data. But we got some media saying, well, it's just a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. They're not really criminal. Oh, they're not convicted. They're just charged. Oh, they're not criminals. No, we're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats, and that's a fact.
But Tom, it strikes me unbelievable that the Democrats are not on board. When you look at this raid, there were 10 juveniles that were illegally brought across the border. You and I covered this under the Biden administration. I was down in Texas. We encountered 8, 10-year-old, 12-year-olds coming across with just a name and an address and a phone number on their necks, the cartel ruthlessly sending them across. And yet now we know that 10 of them, 8 of which were unaccompanied minors, working illegally in a marijuana farm, and your agents go in and rescue them essentially, and yet there is violent resistance to that. Does that upset you?
It certainly upsets me, and like I said, the work men and women of ICE are doing is incredible. Look, we're looking for over 300,000 missing children. We've already found 10,000. Have you heard that anywhere? No, the media is simply not covering it. And look, this should be a nonpartisan issue. Arresting public safety threats and national security threats, everybody be all the same page on that. Rescuing children, I mean, it should be a nonpartisan issue. Everybody should be in lockstep on that, but they're not. The media is lying. The Democrats they don't want President Trump to be successful. I got news for them. We are being successful. Every illegal alien public safety threat we arrest makes this country safer. Every national security threat we take off the street and deport makes us safer. And we're rescuing thousands of children. The lives saved every day by ICE, the lives saved every day by Border Patrol, are in the hundreds. So it's the only thing I can think of, Griff, if they hate President Trump more than they love their community. They hate President Trump more than they want, safe communities. And there's just no other excuse why this is not, why this has become a partisan issue to take public safety threats off the street.
And before I run out of time, Tom, I've got to get your reaction to this Biden-appointed federal judge out in Los Angeles, apparently expected today to issue a temporary restraining order halting your lawful operations. She says, I think it's important for the court not to burden otherwise lawful law enforcement activities. Your reaction there?
Look, people need to understand, ICE officers and Border Patrol, they don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need the totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation, get articulable facts based on their location, their occupation, their physical appearance, their actions. Like if a uniformed Border Patrol agent walks up to them at, for instance, a Home Depot. And they got all these articulable facts, plus the person walks away or runs away. Agents are trained. What they need to detain somebody temporarily and question them. It's not probable cause, it's reasonable suspicion. We're trained on that. Every agent, every 6 months, get Fourth Amendment training over and over again. These officers are really good at what they do. And if this judge would make a decision that's against what these officers are trained, what the law is based upon, then they're going to shut down operation. I think that's your end game. They want ICE to stop doing this. But if they base it on the rule of law, they're going to find out Border Patrol and ICE is doing exactly what they're going to do in accordance with law.
And you're not going to stop coming. Tom Homan, thank you for getting up with us this morning.
You got it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.